Hey boys and girls, welcome back to Pokémon Violet. In the last episode, we learned from the superstar battle prowess that really is the battle studies teacher of Uva Academy, Dendrum, not only being a cog in the wheel that was Tulip the Bewitching Beautician's all for not a gym challenge, being the emotional spectrum practice instructor, but also being a way to further understand some of the more hidden details tied to the Terror Raid battles that aren't as explained as much in detail than they really should have been, giving us a further understanding of how to properly prepare for any future challenges we may face in the future lifespan of Scarlet and Violet, while also giving us a quick look into the dynamic between herself and the nurse Miriam, and their unique situation between the two. Dendra wanting to pay back Miriam in any way she can due to her deep respect for the nurse and everything she does for not only the school, as well as Dendra herself. And honestly, just in general, just because of the fact that we found out that Dendra's pretty headstrong and gets injured quite often, and well, that ended up being the reason why she always has to visit Nurse Miriam in the first place. But it's only a one-way street based on what it looks like, since Miriam just sees it as her job, but Dendra's really, respectful of it just because of the fact that she feels like Miriam goes above and beyond to make sure she's okay. But with that being said, honestly, there's only a couple teachers left we have to do, since Jacques is 100% for Pokédex. That is his story. We still have Arven, we still have Nemona, but we only have 3 teachers left. And honestly, we're getting closer and closer the further and further we go, since all we have left is time for math, Ray4 for history, and then art for Hazel, also known as, well, the Elite Four, and the major Elite Four, to be completely honest, when it comes to art, when it comes for Hazel. So, honestly, since it's been a little bit since we've seen Hazel, and since he was a big part of our story, and that's not even really joking, we saw him much more than a lot of other characters. Honestly, I think it's about time we get to know him on a more basic level, and, see how he is when it comes to his favorite subject being art. So, let's get on into it, since, let's be honest here, I'm quite interested to finally figure this one out, since we've done all the other teachers that I'm specifically super curious about. Since Ray4 and Time I'm not as curious about, because I can kind of see where their characters are going to kind of go. Just because we know Time is obviously Rhyme's sister, we learned this a couple times already, and I'm just hammering it in from home at this current point. And then Ray4, I think we talked to her at the very beginning of the game, and we had a little bit more of an interaction between her than some of the other teachers. So that's basically my reasoning for that one. But, honestly, let's just get right into it, since Hazel is definitely a character I would like to get into, and kind of learn a little bit more about him outside of, his day job when it comes to battling and everything. So here we go. Good old Hazel in his art room.
Greetings, I'm Hazel. I'll be teaching this art class. It's a pleasure to meet you all. Now, let me be candid for one moment. I imagine that many of you will forget all you learned in this class once you graduate.
That probably could happen for a lot of people, but I'll try and remember, since I really do enjoy art, so I should probably do pretty good in this.
After all, you don't even need a basic understanding of artwork, much less a refined appreciation of beauty, for most exams or jobs.
Okay then.
So, is my class a waste of time for you then?
Probably not. But based on how you said it, sounds like it might be.
I think not. At least, I certainly hope it isn't. Think for a moment, all of you. What is, beauty anyways? What makes something beautiful?
Its shape and color, the eye of the beholder, I don't know. Well, really it is the eye of the beholder. Art is kind of subjective, so it depends on who made the art and well, how you kind of understand it in your own sense of the word. But that's basically how art works. That's also how, kind of anything really works, honestly. Laughter, jokes, art, a lot of it's kind of like up to the person what determines if it's good or bad, and every other person's going to see it differently. So it's kind of iffy on that subject, to be completely honest. But that is true. Art is definitely in the beholder's eye, for sure.
Interesting. Thank you, Spooks. I don't mean to suggest that there's a correct answer to my query. The important thing is that you all took time to think about it.
Well, that's good to hear.
Think about why we might find beauty in a flower blooming on the side of the road. For example, question why the sky is a different shade of blue than the ocean, or why the leaves change color.
That's more about the spectrum of the sun and how it reflects off of everything. Because color is definitely something that's a little bit more tricky to kind of explain, to be honest. But you can see it in different ways for sure.
Ponder the windmills of Artisan, how they move. Contemplate the chilling bites of the waters of Cascarapa. I'm sure you will find that every little detail of your lives will seem more vivid, more impactful, if you just take a moment to stop and think. And I'm certain that if you stop and truly appreciate the little beauties of this world, it will help pull you through the days where your studies have you exhausted, or when work has dampened your spirits.
Okay then. Interesting way of thinking about it, Hazel.
Do pardon me for waxing philosophical.
Waxing philosophical? Okay, that's an interesting way of saying that.
You don't need to understand all that for now.
Okay, interesting.
To put it simply, it is true that one doesn't need art to survive, but it certainly makes surviving much more enjoyable.
I guess, yeah, true.
It is my hope that this class will add even a little bit of color to your lives.
Okay, well thanks, Hazel.
That's all for today. Next time, we'll try a more hands-on approach to appreciating beauty, of course.
Okay, interesting. Also, I'm liking how we're seeing the more older students of the academy too, because we saw one on the back in the far right area. We can actually see another one of the older students. You don't see those very often, because you actually have to look for them, but it's actually interesting because it makes it feel much more like an academy than it does like a regular school. Because obviously, in an academy or college, you would see older students, and it's actually pretty nice attention to detail, which is actually pretty cool to see. But let's get on into art number 2, since we know that we have to go through 6 of them in order to begin our little story for each one. But technically, the classes themselves are story as well, to be completely honest. So, and some even give out little, like, tidbits to just things that are mechanics in the game, which are not as explained, and also just interesting things in general, like the cheering mechanic in Terror Raids. I thought it affected everybody, but it only affects your allies, which is interesting. But let's continue with Hazel again.
Hello, class. It is I, Hazel, yet again. In our previous class, we discussed that beauty is, which might have been a little boring for you. So, today, thought I would mix things up a little, to pique your interest in art, of course.
Okay, mix it up, like a little bit of paint. Okay, let's see what you got.
Allow me to introduce our special guest.
Special guest, you say? Oh, Gibble. Interesting. Why do we need a Gibble? Well, you are a dragon-type trainer, to be completely fair. But interesting type for Pokemon, just in general for any Pokemon you could have used. A Gibble being your little assistant, that's kind of interesting. I don't even think he had a Garchomp, so that's kind of interesting.
That's Professor Gibble, the assistant lecturer for today. Now then, Professor Gibble, if you would be so kind as to terrestrialize for us.
Oh, he's gonna terrestrialize? That's interesting, so not even for battle, just in general. Okay. Well, looks like he's a grass-type terrestrialization, which is interesting. Since Gible is a ground dragon, which is kind of interesting to see. You know, a ground-type turn into a grass-type. It's always interesting to see that. But, let's see.
As some of you may already know, Pokemon can terrestrialize if you use a Terror Ward. Normally, Professor Gible would be on of the Dragon type normally, but by terrestrializing, it succeeded in changing its type.
Which is true. Which is very interesting why just in I don't know if they're going to actually transfer this over because Gigantamax and Dynamaxing didn't transfer over. I'm wondering what gimmick from one of these games is going to be more of a mainstay. If they even keep any of these gimmicks in the future games, to be honest. I miss Mega Evolution, honestly. That's one that I really do miss, because that could have, appear in any generation, but the only reason I think they got rid of it is because of the, multiplayer aspect of it. So, you could kind of just take it out of multiplayer, but, not much I can really say about that, just because, honestly, I have no clue if they'll bring it back, but I really do miss it, because a lot of the cooler designs for some of the Pokemon are trapped behind Mega Evolution, and some of the Gigantamaxes reminded me of Mega Evolution, and even some of the Paradoxes too, with the Paradox for Salamence and the Paradox for Gallade and Gardevoir, for instance, were based off the Mega Evolutions for both of them. Or all three of them, technically, because Gardevoir and Gallade were mixed together, which was interesting. But, honestly, I really do wonder if we'll ever get Mega Evolution back. Would be cool if they do, I'll be completely honest. But, they'd probably have to, really fine-tune it if they do want to bring it back, if that is the case for competitive reasons. Which is unfortunate if that's really the case. But, let's continue.
So, class, what type do these lovely glistening flowers above Professor Gible's head represent?
Well, obviously the grass type. That's kind of obvious. Well, it is literally leafy greens. Or, in this case, is a sunflower on top of his head with, different types of flowers underneath, but specifically the sunflowers right in front and center. But that is definitely a grass type.
Excellent, Spooks. Full marks for you.
Well, good to hear.
These beautiful flowers blooming above Professor Gible's head shows that it has now become a grass Pokemon. The shape of the Terra Jewel above the Pokemon's head depends on the Pokemon's Terra type.
Okay, which we understand.
To summarize, if opponent's Pokemon terrestrializes during battle, observe Pokemon's Terra Jewel closely to see which type it has become, and choose effective moves accordingly.
Okay. And it's kind of simple to kind of figure it out too, because most of the terrestrializing opponents, when it comes to trainers, are based on their Pokemon that they throw beforehand. Except for Geeta. But Geeta is kind of an easier subject because of the fact that all the Elite Four members, including the champion, were tied to the Titans specifically. So it was kind of easy to figure it out with, obviously, order deduction because Team Star counted as, technically gym leaders, and then you had our regular gym leaders, so the only thing that wasn't a gym leader was Titan Pokemon. So it was kind of simple to figure out every single trainer in the game, even if we weren't sure on the design of the terrestrialization. You can kind of figure it out based on the trainer that you're fighting. But definitely, make sure you keep an eye on the Terra Jewel, because you'll easily be able to figure it out, depending on what it is. So, definitely a good thing to know for sure.
It is my sincere hope that today's lecture will help you all achieve beautiful victories. Terrestrial phenomenon is indeed a fascinating, deep subject to discuss. That is it for today, class. Thank you, Professor Gible, for your help.
Gible seems pretty happy about it. Also, Gible reminds me of Fuecoco, honestly. Both of them kind of are similar when it comes to kind of their like facial structure and their body structure. I always thought that was kind of interesting when I first saw Fuecoco and Gible next to each other, because someone put both of them, their arts next to each other, and if you really think about it, they do actually look very similar. And I can easily pull that up for you guys, just so you guys can kind of see it, what I'm meaning about that, just because they're both like, you know, their body, mouth, and then legs. But they're very similar, but obviously different Pokemon, but I thought that was pretty interesting when just thinking about that. Although, you know, none of my Pokemon through either Scarlet or Violet were Fuecoco, I was able to get myself one because obviously I let my friend play a little bit of my versions. Oh, I didn't know you could spin in this game. Huh. I'm surprised I didn't know that until now. Just because I knew you could do it in older games, and then all of a sudden, I didn't know that it was still a thing. Huh. Okay then. Well, that caught me off guard completely, just because that was the first time I've actually seen it in this game, just because you don't think about doing it, because, you know, you're on Miraidon or Koraidon the whole time, so I didn't think about doing that, and apparently it's still in the game. Cool. That's actually one of my favorite things from the older, or the newer games, is to do that kind of stuff, so that's actually cool that that's still around. Huh.
Hello, class. It is I, Hazel, yet again.
Hey, Professor Hazel. What's our next class?
I have been told that previous lecture about terrestrial Pokemon was very well received. Thank you all for your kind words.
I'm guessing what types of terrestrial, or the terrestrial crystal on top of each of Gible's head pieces. I'm guessing that's probably what it is. I could be wrong, but I'm kind of guessing on that one, to be honest. Okay then.
In fact, Miss Dendra specifically requested I impart even more battle knowledge to my students.
Well, you are Elite Four, so it would make a lot of sense.
So I've decided that today we will take another look at how Pokemon can terrestrialize.
Okay. So let's see here. So I'm guessing he is going to change it.
And of course, here's Professor Gibble to help us out. Now then, Professor Gibble, if you would be so kind as to terrestrialize for us.
Okay. Let's see what Gibble's got for us now. And that is obviously ice, because of the snowflake on top of his head, which is the most interesting type for a Gibble because of the fact that that is normally what Gibble is 4 times a week against. And actually, I think that's my Terra typing on Saphira, which is actually pretty interesting. Huh.
Now, what do we have here? Last class we saw grass type terrestrializing, but this time we have something of a different shape. Observe a Terra jewel resembling a snowflake. Its dendritic shape is stunning to behold. It's a little chilly standing so close to it. So class, what Terra type do you imagine this jewel might represent?
Obviously, that is an ice type. That is a pretty easy one. And it's also the last gym leader, so it's kind of simple to be able to remember that one. Even if I didn't have any ice type terrestrializations during, or I shouldn't say that, I didn't use any. Because Saphira is now an ice type. It used to be a dragon type. But, oh no wait, it was a ground type when we were doing Scarlet. And then I got a new one, being a new Saphira via Violets. The only Pokemon that was able to actually fully transfer over was Yu-Gi-Oh! Because everything else was too high level for the stuff I want to do later. Because Team Star, I believe, is going to be level 65-ish when we do their rematches. So I needed to make sure things were lower level on that spectrum to be able to use them. And, well, all my Pokemon for Scarlet ended up being at least level 70 plus, so I thought it would be simpler to kind of just press the reset button on my team over in Scarlet when we did do the rematches. We still have Yu-Gi-Oh, but all the other ones are kind of replacement versions of them that are said to be them, is basically what I'm trying to say. It's definitely... It was the only way to really do it, to be honest, because you can't undo levels in Pokemon like you can do in, like, Digimon or something like that, so... Thought I should mention it just in case, because some people might be confused why they're lower level than they were when we did the endgame for Scarlet. But, let's continue.
Excellent, Spooks. Full marks for you.
Pretty simple terrestrialization, though. Snowflake, ice, pretty simple.
The reason there's a snowflake shine above Professor Gibble's head is simple. It is now an ice type.
Also, I just noticed something. The student that's sitting right directly next to Hazel changes every time. It started with Nemona, went to Penny, and now it's Arven. That's interesting.
And because Professor Gibble's currently an ice type moves would not be very effective against it. Keep in mind, usually they would be dealing quadruple damage to Gibble.
Which is indeed true. Its pure, literal enemy typing is literally ice, so it being an ice type is very interesting.
Now here's some trivia about snowflakes. Snowflakes come in many different shapes, sizes. Most are classified as hexagons. Just think of snowflakes fall from the sky, take similar shapes without anyone saying they must.
Okay then.
Do you not feel the great mystery of nature? Beautiful enigma we live in?
It is pretty cool. Oh, he's getting sick for being next to him.
This is a bit of a tangent, but Mr. Shout's glasses are also hexagonal, aren't they? I almost forgot to mention that you can change Pokemon's Terra type at the Treasure Eatery, located in Medali.
Which we already know about. And I did test out what happens when you do that. There isn't anything. It's literally, it changes your Terra type if you have 50 crystals. I thought there would be a little bit more to it, but it looks like we won't have to do that one, because I said we would do it if there was anything, and it literally just changes your Terra type, so there's literally nothing to it. No story or any of that. Would have been cool if there was a little bit for, like, your first one, but it's literally, press it, changes it, and it's over, pretty much. So, a little unfortunate, but it is pretty cool that you can do that, though, so you're not tied down to the Terra type that you got when you first caught the Pokemon.
Though I must say, Cookie there is a little prickly. You'll need to get on her good side if you want her help.
Meaning you need 50 crystals.
Now you come prepared for next class, because it's time for your midterm examination. Thank you for today, Professor Gibble.
Thank you indeed, Mr. Professor Gibble. But so far, 2 versions of terrestrialization. I'm wondering if he's going to do more. And I'm wondering if it's all going to be, like, visible, like, test answers. That would be pretty interesting. But let's definitely go straight into the midterm, since, let's be honest here, we should be ready, since his class has been pretty simple, and pretty easy, honestly. I actually quite enjoy how easy and simple this one is, because some of them are a little more, you know, you have to remember a little bit more.
I do hope you're all ready, because it's time for your midterm exam. Focus and do your best.
Okay, so what do we got?
And begin.
What is the name of the gemstone that glows over a Pokemon's head when it terrestrializes? It is a Terra Jewel. Okay. When the answer to question 1 is the shape of flowers, what type does it represent? When the answer to question 1 is the shape of flowers, oh, the Terra Jewel. Oh, that's what it means. Okay, it didn't want to give us the answer, because normally you'd be able to read all of them at the same time. That's pretty clever. Huh. Okay then. Like an actual test, they actually, you know, omits that answer out, which is interesting. Well, that one's obviously grass type. What shape are most snowflakes classified as? He said hexagonal, so I'm just gonna go with hexagonal. Just because, well, yeah, that's what they should be. But sometimes they can change. Where is the eatery that allows you to change Terra type? Poco. Levincia, obviously not. And then Medali's the only answer. I don't know where Poco is. Unless that's the first place that we start. which could be the answer for that one. What makes something beautiful? Its shape and color? The eye of the beholder? I don't know. There's no correct answer. There's no correct answer. That one's a trick question.
Time's up. That is it for today's test. Pencils down, please.
Okay.
I would rather not have my students worry about passing or failing in my art class. Tests are tests after all.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate you have to take a test in art. It doesn't make any sense, and all schools do it for some reason.
Anyways, good luck. Good work, everyone. You can check your results at the front desk.
Okay. Well, let's definitely check out our results. Since, honestly, we haven't failed a test yet, we've been able to get 5 out of 5s every time. So, let's see what we got. Since this just repeats itself, 5 out of 5, we get our small, little EXP candies, and there we go. Now we just need to get our medium ones, and then we can start getting into Hazel's actual story. Since, well, let's be honest, his classes are miniature stories, and then, obviously, the main meat and potatoes is his actual end of class story. So, we're getting closer. And honestly, I'm wondering what time and Rayforts are going to be as well, just because every teacher has had a quite an interesting little story for each and every one, as well as just the students in general too, for Penny being all the Team Star members getting back into, you know, trying to kind of rewire themselves to be able to, you know, go to the school and kind of, you know, under a new light for themselves, pretty much. But honestly, definitely a pretty interesting dynamic for every character so far. We haven't seen Nemona's or Penny's, but we have seen Clavell's, and we have seen Miriam's, which are different than the normal professors. So, let's continue.
Oh, look, class, and it's out of Hazel yet again. I'm pleased to say that everybody did very well on the midterm exams. As reward for all your hard work, we have special guests visiting us today.
What kind of special guests?
Now then, Breezy, please come in.
Oh, it's Bracius. Thought I remembered that name based on the little nickname that he gave him, and that's obviously him.
Greetings.
Hey, Bracius, long time no see. I was not expecting to see a gym leader inside the little academy stories, so this is definitely a nice surprise.
I am Bracius. I'm the artist. I focus exclusively on grass-type Pokemon for my work. Bracius here mainly creates three-dimensional pieces, such as statues and the like.
And specifically Sunfloras, if we actually go to Artisan.
One of his major works is installations titled Surrendering Sunflora, found in Artisan. Many of you who've challenged Artisan Gym, no doubt familiar with these sculptures.
Yep, definitely familiar. Yes, I do recognize some faces among your students. Specifically me. Because we were his greatest muse. I hope you all understand how fortunate you are to be able to attend Hayes' classes. Hayes? That's an interesting nickname. Old House is the man who saved me when I had lost all hope and given up on myself. But he never gave up on me. I do not exaggerate when I say that he is my mentor in life. It is precisely thanks to Haas that I was able to establish my current art style. Really? Now that's very interesting. Now that's something I was not expecting to hear in one of these, and it looks like Hazel's is the more fleshed out of the stories, which is interesting when it comes to the classes. That's very interesting. Huh. And that makes more sense why there's two artists in the game. That's very interesting.
Dear Brazy, I have nothing against reminiscing about the old times, but today, hope you will guide this class in a way only you can.
Of course. Let's see. Why don't we discuss what Haas mentioned? Surrendering Sunflora. Can anyone here tell me what my mood was when I crafted its detached expression. Surrendering. Would have to be a sad mood, I would think. Is that right? It's either sad or angry. No, completely and utterly wrong. When I made the sculpture, I had surrendered all the hope. I was prepared to give up everything. So, a trick question then. So, we couldn't have answered that one. Got it. I had resolved to give up my life, as an artist at that piece did not receive proper recognition.
Hence the name Surrenderance on Flora.
Yep, indeed. That's exactly it, Hoss. When I started out as an artist, I experienced many hardships. I even became deathly ill, and fell into a slump that drove me to desperation. I began worrying only about what would sell. I was concerned only with fame and fortune. Huh. Now that's a very familiar outlook in things that we've seen in previous games that weren't Pokemon. So my little hunch on him kind of reminded me of Yusuke was indeed correct, because he does indeed remind me of Yusuke, which is exactly a storyline that he goes through, feeling like he only was doing art for greed, and wanted to become a proper artist in his own mind. And it looks like Braces went through a very similar thing, which is interesting. Huh, that's pretty cool. But all of my pieces during this time had no depth. They were all shallow trash. It was then that I met Hoss. He helped me realize how petty I was being. I'll spare you all the details. But in the end I was able to leave all that behind. And that is also when I crafted the Sunflora. Interesting. Huh. That's pretty cool to know.
Remarkable. Even I did not know the full story until now.
This kind of thing is hard to tell someone, especially when you're all so close to you. Now I don't doubt that you adolescents will often find your heads crowded with worries. My advice to you is simple. Be honest with yourself and do whatever your heart desires. So long as you don't cause trouble, that is. Fair enough. That is all from me. I must admit I am beginning to feel a bit embarrassed, so I bid you all farewell, Hoss. And farewell to your pupils as well. Well, see you later, Braces. Now, that was a very interesting little, side story, because that was part of the class itself and not the actual story to Hazel. So that was very interesting. I was not expecting that at all.
Oh, Breezy. Can't believe it. Such a wonderful class. Thanks.
Oh, he's getting emotional.
Thank you so much.
Aw, poor Hazel. Good old emotional, good guy that he is. Honestly, very interesting just to see Bracius in general in part of the, classes. I was not expecting that. Does that mean we'll see, Rhyme and Time's thing? That would be very interesting. It would be cool, and it does go with their names, Rhyme and Time. It's time to rhyme. I know it's kind of corny, but let's be honest here, it's kind of funny at the same time, just because of the fact of their names. But let's get into good old number 5, leaving us with only one more class left, and then the actual final. And then we can finally get into Hazel's main story. But so far so good, honestly.
Oh, look, class, it's out Hazel yet again. First, let me apologize for losing my composure during our last class.
It's all good, Hazel.
I was so touched by Bracy's story that I simply couldn't contain my emotions. I'm sorry for making such a scene.
It's all good, bud.
I certainly got a very stern talking to from Miss Time after that class, yeah.
What's with Miss Time and getting angry at people? That's the second time we've heard about her freaking out for no reason. Because Clavell got in trouble with Time, and she was going to turn him into Geeta, and obviously Geeta didn't care, and just let him go. It didn't even care that, he was, battling on school grounds. And then apparently timing out on Hazel here. Huh. Weird. Wonder what's up with her. Definitely doesn't give me a good vision of her so far before we even get into her class, based on the fact that she gets angry very easily for no reason. But I guess we'll find out. Hopefully taking her class in the future and doing her story will lighten the mood on her, honestly. I guess we'll find out though. But let's continue.
Anyways, let's shift gears and dive into the material for today's class. Now have any of you heard 10 Sites of Paldea?
10 Sites of Paldea?
As the name would imply, there are 10 sites of Paldea that are considered particularly beautiful.
Really? Okay.
Among them, I could say that would be the Grand Olive Orchard. It's likely the most accessible.
I'm guessing one would be the top of Mount Glacido. That would definitely feel like one for me.
You can see a field after field of olive trees from the hill on the way to Cortanda. 2 waterfalls are also counted among these 10 sites, Fury Falls and Cassiopeia Falls. Then there's the peak of Glacido Mountain, known as Paldea's highest peak.
Which makes sense.
There's another cliff on Glacido Mountain that's named after its rather unique shape.
Really?
So let me ask you, students, what is the name of the 3-pronged cliff on the Glacido Mountain? No need to grasp the straws.
Okay. Grasp, reach, or run. Well, based on the fact that, well, obviously they're pronged, like a fork, I'm gonna say it's Glacido Reach. I don't think we've ever been given that name.
Very good guess. I think something reaching would stretch out further, though.
Grasp, I'm guessing? Yep, it's Grasp. Okay. Well, not really my fault, let's be honest. I don't think that's even named in the game outside of this. Because I'm pretty sure you would get a flying location for that place, and I don't think I've either been there, or it just doesn't show it in game until doing this. So I'm not gonna, slap myself for that one. I'm gonna be completely honest.
The 3-pronged cliff on the Glacido Mountain is in fact known as Glacido's Grasp.
Honestly, I would have thought it was like something like Abomasnow, because Abomasnow has like, kind of like a pronged head. But apparently not. I was thinking it was going to be more based on a Pokemon, but apparently none of those names were anywhere near referencing that.
Though its shape is far too stubby to be that of a human hand. Imagine someone thought it looked like a Pokemon hand grabbing something.
Maybe Abomasnow's hand? Maybe Abomasnow was part of it. Then,
There's also mountains in Area 3 of the East Province, where you can get a good look at Levincia. It's particularly gorgeous at night. In fact, the view is so brilliant, it's known as a million-fold skyline.
Really? That's interesting.
Here it's quite a hot spot for dates, certainly so for having such a romantic view. Imagine it's, what do you kids say these days? Very, sleek selfie spot.
Okay then.
Of course, you may feel that not all 10 sites live up to their grandiose names. How often do we visit some tourist spot only to be disappointed? No, not to say that you shouldn't visit them, or that you should keep your hopes in check.
Fair enough.
The important thing is to go yourself and see them with your own 2 eyes.
Honestly, I want to see what the Levincia one is. Obviously, I'm probably, not going to show it in an episode, but that's an interesting, idea. I didn't think about doing that. Because there is some pretty cool places if you really look for them.
Sometimes a disappointing experience can be worthwhile in its own way. Take a chance.
Okay.
Well, that's it for today, class. Thank you for your attention.
Well, no problem, Hazel. Definitely no problem whatsoever. Very interesting, though. On 10 sites at Paldea, I didn't even know there was 10 sites. That's interesting. But it makes sense. There's a bunch of signs up in different areas that, seem like tourist areas that I didn't even think about. But that's interesting to think about. just in general. Okay, and now it's time to finally get into the final act of the art class here, being, the last class, and then just in general for the final exam. Honestly, with the fact that Bracia showed up in the 4th one, I'm really curious what we're going to end up finding inside the final one for Hazel in general, and what we'll end up finding inside his, his normal story. But here we go.
Oh, hello class, it is I, Hazel, yet again. My, how time flies, as they say. Indeed, our time together has certainly flown by. It's hard to believe that this is our last class. Now our topic for today may feel somewhat unrelated to art. Well, there's absolutely no set definition as to what art should be. Therefore, let us carry on with the discussion, see where it takes us.
Okay.
There are 2 things I wish to focus on today. Ribbons and marks.
Oh, okay. So the ribbons that you get for, completing challenges, and then the marks that you get by, catching a certain Pokemon of a certain, type. Like, if you were to get the Titans, you would get the former Titan marks. Okay, interesting.
Both ribbons and marks are special honors that capture Pokemon's qualities. There will be times when your Pokemon gives maximum effort or has a noteworthy experience. In recognition of its feats and accomplishments, it could be given a ribbon.
Okay.
To give an example, if you manage to become critically close to a Pokemon, may be granted the Best Friends ribbon. Incidentally, there's a person in Cassiopeia who can give your Pokemon Best Friends ribbon.
Okay then, that's interesting.
Marks, on the other hand, are mostly found on wild Pokemon when you meet them for the very first time. They can symbolize the character of Pokemon such as the Rowdy Mark or the Vigor Mark.
Okay.
It's completely up to luck whether you'll run into a Pokemon with these marks anyways.
Okay then.
So if you're able to catch a Pokemon with a mark, towards that your outstanding fortune.
Okay then. Interesting. So, marks are random, all separate the Titan ones, and then ribbons you have to get yourself, which is obvious because you can get the ribbons in other games.
Does anyone know what special thing you could do with Pokemon that have ribbons or marks?
You can exchange ribbons, you can show them off, you can change their title. I do know that one.
Wonderful, Spooks. Your knowledge is impressive. The correct answer is that Pokemon with ribbons or marks can't be given titles. What's more, they can be sent to battle displaying a title of your choosing.
I'm wondering what the Diamond and Pearl Pokemon with ribbons are going to be like, or like some of the very first ribbons being transferred over would look like in this game, because you can really transfer over some stuff if you really think about it. And some Pokemon might have pretty much every single ribbon in the game that you could possibly ever get, all the championship marks if you really wanted to. Wonder if someone will end up ever doing that just to see what kind of marks you could get. That would be pretty cool. For sure.
For example, you can send out a Gibble with the Best Friend ribbon by declare, "Go Gibble, great friend."
That's an interesting title.
And while I know it's just said that these marks are generally found already on Pokemon when you meet them for the first time, it seems that more recently Pokemon can be awarded certain marks based on their efforts. These are marks such as the Gorman mark, the Item Finder mark, Partner mark, and so on. Perhaps it might be fun to try and work out how to get each mark using the name as a clue.
Okay.
Well, that just about wraps up our class. Next is the final exam. Please review our material closely so that you pass on first draft.
Okay. We can definitely see what we can do. We haven't failed one yet, so honestly I'm pretty sure we'll be fine. Since they actually, review it in the classes in this game, unlike in real classes for some reason. In real life, they don't do that whatsoever. It really does feel like that. And they'll give you questions that will never be on the test. So, honestly, I'm liking that the game's actually trying to give us actual answerable questions, unlike how schools seem to do it for some reason. But let's get right into the finals for Hazel, and then finally get into a story. Since, honestly, it feels like we've already been inside a major story this whole time.
I do hope you're all ready, because it's time for the final exam. Focus and do your best.
Okay.
And begin.
Okay. What is the name of the restaurant where you can change your Pokemon stereotype? Obviously, that is the Treasure Eatery. Okay. What is the name of Brace's signature art installation that we discussed in class? The Surrendering Synflora. How many waterfalls are counted among the 10 sites of Paldea? Let's see here. 2. Let's see here. No, yeah, just 2. Because of the Cassiopeia one and then Fury Falls, specifically. So 2. Where can you find the Million Volt Skyline? That is in Levincia. The marks of a Pokemon has are present when you first meet, and none can be added later. The marks Pokemon has are present when you first meet. This is marks and not ribbons, so true. Okay.
Time's up. That's for today's test. Pencils down, please. Thank you all so much for learning about art with me.
No problem there, good ol' Hazel.
The time we shared has left a mark that I will treasure, I promise you. And it is my sincere wish that you all go on to even greater, more prosperous futures. And that's that. Good work, everyone. You have received your results from the front desk.
Okay. Well, let's go see how our results are. Honestly, I feel like I might have gotten 4 or 5 that time, to be completely fair. But, let's see. Honestly, there's only one way to find out. Yep, 4 or 5, so we finally got one wrong, but we did pass. So what did we get wrong there? I'm guessing it's gotta be the, what do you call it, the waterfall one. I'm trying to think of what other waterfall there would be, because we got confused with the mountains being a good chunk of them. Because obviously Cassiopeia, then Fury Falls over here. I really don't remember any other waterfalls that could possibly be a part of that, but I guess Cascarafa kinda, but it's not really a waterfall. More of a dam that's kind of stopping water from the river and kind of forced into a waterfall, but it's kind of iffy on that one, to be honest. But sure, I guess. I have no clue what number that would be, just because he didn't really say all 10, honestly. A bunch of them were mountains, so okay then. Well, unfortunate, but we did pass, so we don't have to worry about that one. So, let's go see where he is now, since obviously it's time to start getting into a story. So, let's head off into the art room and begin the start of Hazel's main story for the post-game. So, hey Hazel, long time no see, buddy.
What if it isn't Spooks? I have a question for you. Do you find my class difficult?
It's just right for me, honestly. I'm not sure about the other students, though.
That is certainly good to hear. So, Spooks, you chose to take on the gyms as part of your treasure hunt.
That is indeed true.
That must mean you like Pokemon battles, is that correct?
Obviously, yes. That is definitely correct.
One naturally becomes skilled at doing what they enjoy. That must be why you're so strong.
True. And fair.
Do forgive me for springing such an odd question upon you so suddenly.
It's all good, bud.
I often find myself pondering the nature of strength these days.
Okay then. Why's that?
Anyways, thanks again for your input, Spooks.
No problem, Hazel. You became slightly closer with Mr. Hazel. Okay, first one's done, but that's the introductory one, since we know that was a thing with Mr. Sagawaro. But I'm guessing, do we need to leave the class, or it seems like we have to leave the class to find him again?
What is true meaning of strength, I wonder?
Good question there, Hazel. I'm gonna be honest. But, looks like he's out on the schoolyard, where Nemona is. So, let's go find him. Since, well, let's be honest here, it shouldn't be too hard to find him if we, definitely look for him. And he's literally right in the very beginning of it. Well, that's pretty interesting. Well, thanks, Hazel, for making it easy to find you.
Oh, hello there, Spooks. Try to visit the schoolyard from time to time. It's good to see young ones with so much energy and vigor.
You think so? I know what you mean. You think so?
Oh yes indeed. Just watching enough is, to make an even old man like me feel more alive.
You're old. You don't seem that old. Mr. Hazel, might I have a word? Who are you?
What are you doing here? Have I told you many times, not to bother me here at the Academy?
You smiling, so it must not be that bad. Yet I am bound to come. Our family's future is of paramount importance. Okay then. What's going on here, Hazel?
It was good speaking with the Spooks. Something important has come up, so I must excuse myself now.
Okay, now this is interesting. You became even closer with Mr. Hazel. Wonder what's going on here.
Let us discuss this matter elsewhere. Come.
Our family? That's interesting. So she's related to him, or is this something to do with, like, kind of like a relationship or something? I'm honestly not sure. That's interesting. Huh. Okay, then. Interesting. I don't know if this is trying to set up something for, like, a future plotline or what, but this is very intriguing. Okay, Mr. Hazel, time for round number 3. Leaving us with only 2 left for him, honestly, but very interesting, like, storyline so far. I really do wonder who that other person is, but obviously we'll find that out very soon. But still, though, that's very odd. Very odd, just in general, for the idea of what that was kind of implying. Well, let's see what's going on with Hazel. Staring at a bookcase, though.
Why hello there, young Spooks.
Well, what's going on, Hazel? You want to speak about it?
I'm sorry, I was lost in time, didn't notice your approach.
It's all good, honestly.
Feel I must again apologize for what transpired in the schoolyard.
What are you talking about? Yeah, I didn't really notice. It wasn't really bothering me. I was just confused.
I'm of course referring to how I rather suddenly had to take my leave while we were still engaged in a conversation.
It's all good.
That woman who showed up is a dragon tamer, and relative of mine, I might add.
Okay, so it is family.
You see, I come from a very long line of trainers who specialize in dragon-type Pokemon. There was a child in our family who was expected to stand at its head and lead it to greatness.
I'm guessing you.
But the young lad, rebellious little fellow that he was, ran away from home one day. He made quite a show of it too, swearing he'd make a living with music.
Music? Okay, so it can't be him. Oh no, it is him.
A lot has happened since then. Now he's art teacher and Elite 4 member before you.
So he was into music before, that's interesting. Wonder what made him change to art. That's very, like, big, kind of a big change. Music and art kind of, meld together at some point, but wonder what made him go from music to art. Because music can be seen as art, but I'm wondering what kind of pushed him to push that envelope to that. That's interesting.
After I brutally took my leave, during our last conversation, my dear relative encouraged me to give up teaching and return home at last. I've been told that my current leader of my family, that is to say my father, is in poor health.
Okay.
But I do apologize. Perhaps I'm not cut out for teaching after all. What sort of teacher grumbles on and on about his own student?
You're a great teacher. I don't want you to quit teaching. Well, you're a great teacher, Hazel. You're honestly the most, memorable one, for sure. Just based on the fact that he had a big part of our story. Let's be honest here.
My dear Spooks, you have no idea how much your words mean to me. Thank you. Thank you so much.
No problem, buddy. You feel trusted by Mr. Hazel. Okay, only one left. And I'm guessing he's probably going to be in his art class again, but let's see if he says anything different.
I'm sorry. I was lost in thought.
It's all good, Hazel. So let's go find out where he's hiding now. I'm guessing art class is my guess. Yep, art class. A lot of them seem to head back to their main room once they're ready for their final one. Let's go see how Hazel's doing for his final conversation, and then we'll end off today's episode.
Why hello there, Spooks.
Hey Hazel, long time no see.
You always seem to appear at the most crucial moments.
The most crucial moments? Is something going on? Yeah, is something going on, Hazel? Well, what do you mean by crucial moments?
Well, you see.
Oh, there she is again. Master Hazel, I am here to collect you. She's saying master, so he must come from a really, really prestigious family. Because of that. Because they're treating him kind of like royalty in a way. But I'm thinking more kind of like how you have trying to think of the word. So you have like a head of the family, and then you have the lineage underneath it. And some families, I'm going based on my Vietnamese friend that hasn't been tied to this channel whatsoever, but how his family works is that his dad's on top, and then other parts of the family are kind of like segmented off of that, and they have a leader. And this is kind of how the same thing is kind of how I'm understanding it here. So you have his family, and his father is the direct head of the family, and then he would be the rightful heir to go into that slot afterwards. But you have other parts of the families, like your aunts and uncles and stuff like that, that follow the head, the leader, it being his father. And that's kind of how I'm understanding. It's not like it's an actual, like, dynasty or whatever, but more like a, kind of like a family heir kind of thing. It's not something I really know too much about, but that's how I understand it. That's kind of what I'm getting from it. And it's not like an actual prestigious, like, emperor or stuff like that, but like the straight up just family. Leader of the family, basically, is what I'm trying to say. I know it's really odd the way I'm saying it, is just because that's kind of my basic understanding of it, because I really don't know fully the whole expanse of it, but that's kind of what I understand, pretty much. But let's continue and see how this unfolds from here.
So I see.
I'm glad that you finally made up your mind about taking your place as leader of the family.
Well, it is indeed true that I've made up my mind.
So what's your plan?
I made up my mind to continue teaching here in the academy.
All good for you, Hazel. How could you? Are you saying you don't care what happens to our proud lineage?
I'm saying that I have other priorities. Have a look around you, and they are decorating this room, would you? The children here are letting their senses, their perceptives,
Oh, perceptive. Okay, I thought that looked weird.
Perceptiveness grow freely. I do not wish to say that protecting our family's ancient bloodline is of no importance. Simply wish to see young talent blossom and grow into the future. It just seems so much more fun to me, if I'm being honest.
Fair enough for me, honestly. What utter nonsense. And yet, well, you said nonsense, so it seems like you didn't really care, but apparently you got something else. Your fearless, unflinching commitment to that nonsensical vision proves that you're worthy of carrying the will of the dragons, Master Hazel. I will not give up. I will come as many times as I need to in order to change your mind.
By all means, the door's open. Think you'll soon find you've met your match in stubbornness. You thought I could be cowed by some story spun up about my father's deteriorating health? I'm not so easily fooled.
I will return another day. Wait, so it was literally a trick? Huh, interesting. I was thinking it was probably true what they were saying, but he's saying it was a trick. So, he's probably not in bad health then. Interesting. That's kind of weird to kind of get him to come back home, though. To, like, trick him into coming home. That's interesting, though. But, good on Hazel for doing what he wants to do, because, honestly, he shouldn't be forced to. And that's kind of a similar situation to my friend, being kind of, like, forced to, live up to his family's lineage kind of thing going on, exactly like Hazel here. So that was very interesting to see, in general, because that's the same thing that's going on with my friend, being forced to do that. He wants to become a game designer, and his dad wants him to become the next head of his, house. It's kind of weird, but I don't fully understand it, so I can't really, do anything. It's not my business either, but I can still talk about it just because, it is interesting, nonetheless. But it is very similar situations, basically the exact same. But interesting.
I'm sorry. You had to see all that. I was just so very close to resigning my post as a teacher returning my home.
I wonder where he's from.
But the students here gave me courage to say no. That includes you, Spooks. Your word's true that brought me, strength.
Well, that's good to hear.
Cannot think of a way I could possibly repay my debt to you young ones. Take this, if you will, insufficient as may be in expressing the full breadth of my gratitude.
And we got 50 Dragon Terra shards. Okay, interesting. So we can get one Dragon Terra Pokemon of any of our choosing. Technically, we already have one. That was on our main team, being Arboliva, which was Ryuji. But, thanks anyways, though. That's still nice.
Now then, let it be clear, to all. I, Hazel, continue on my chosen path as instructor to the use of our world.
That's good to hear, Hazel. You formed a close bond with Mr. Hazel. And with that being said, one final thing to say with him, and then we'll end off today's episode.
Hello there, Spooks. Please stay for as long as you wish.
No problem, Mr. Hazel. I definitely will. But, with that being said, that is where we're going to be ending off today's episode. And that was pretty interesting. And maybe even a hint towards a future region in the near future whenever, we get our next region in Pokemon. Interesting. And I'm pretty sure there's probably a picture somewhere in the game that references the next region anyways, because that happens in every single Pokemon game. So, I'm very curious, what may come in the future of Pokemon, and what kind of legend stories we could get as well, because there's quite a few different ones we can get with Pokemon Violet and Scarlet. I'm thinking Seda is more possible, but there is maybe a possibility of having Toro and Seda in a Legends game, but kind of doing like a future and a past kind of thing. But, yeah, definitely interesting. But with that being said, in the next episode, I'm thinking we're going to probably maybe do Nemonas or Arvens, or maybe even both if we have enough time for both of them. Just because I would like to get them done, and then finish up the other teachers, just to do an easier one for me for the next one, because I'm still recording this while I'm sick. I actually had to do multiple cuts in today's episode just because of that. Just because I'm still recovering. So, yeah, definitely a little unfortunate, but thankfully I could easily cut it and, meld the cuts right into the point where it doesn't sound like I'm cutting and then coming back. So, thankfully I can make it work for you guys, but that is why there was a couple, like, if you noticed a cut, that's probably when I cut it, is what I'm trying to say. But with that being said, thank you all for watching, have a wonderful rest of your day, keep being spooky, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out. Hey boys and girls, thank you all for watching today's episode. If you liked what you saw today, please leave a like and maybe even subscribe. And hit the bell notification down below. If you guys have any kind of suggestions for games, please put that in the comments down below as well. Thank you all for watching today's episode, and keep being spooky. Peace out, guys.